Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and today we'll be looking at MementoMori, which is apparently one word on Steam. This just got released on Steam, but it's been on mobile for a couple years, and you can kind of tell that because there are 21 different servers, which is kind of a great concept that I wish more games would do, in that since there is some player versus player aspect to this game, it just creates a new world based on region. So there are many worlds separated by region every time they feel like they need one. So no pay-to-win player can really just ruin the game for everybody. Playing on World 1 is going to have a bunch of veterans who have really strong characters, whereas playing on World 21, the newest world at the moment, will mean you're playing with the most amateur of players. There still will be some pay-to-win players, certainly, but there won't be anybody who's been playing it for a couple years who's just going to outrank you in every aspect. The reason I want to do a look at this game, even though I am already playing it on my phone and have been for a couple years, is just to see what the experience really would be as far as making footage for YouTube, which immediately, and you're seeing this more and more in games, you have streamer modes that will either mute or change the music completely, or maybe even change some video in some games cases. I don't think that's going to be the case in this game, so that you don't get content ID claims or copyright strikes. Clearly this is a Japanese game first, and it weirdly launches not in full screen but in windowed mode on Windows, which is weird. You start just opted out as far as advertising purposes, sharing your data, and everything is kind of nicely set at 70, although I still maintain that all sound effects should be separated into at least 3 different channels of music, sound effects, and voices, and everything should be normalized to 50%. There is even a warning on this game that the audio too loud will potentially damage your hearing. There's a lot of talk here, certainly, around audio, and I would probably have to use app data recovery to connect my account on mobile. But because this game is all about its songs, all about its soundtrack, which inherently makes it a weird situation if I was going to potentially try and use this in any way in my streaming or in pre-recorded footage, in that it is a gacha game where you're collecting your anime girls, waifus if you want to call them that, but I suppose that's somewhat close. It can be a little bit Bikini Beach lewd. You might see some side boob here and there, but it's not really particularly lewd. It uses the live 2D system to have what are really just static 2D images that automatically bounce back and forth in animation loops. And it has this interesting brownish pastel look to it in its color palette. That's almost, I think, everything I need to say. I definitely moved to playing this game in a major part because it was using live 2D. I was playing a game called Destiny Child, no relation to the singing group, from a South Korean company, Shift Up, who then went on to make a pretty big game for PlayStation and brought that to the West, Stellar Blade. Destiny Child definitely was an immature, adults-only game, and that gave the gacha element of it much more of a desirable effect for an adult like me, in that if you're collecting characters of any sort, Destiny Child sometimes had guys, but mostly had girls, you wanted them to be attractive, whatever attractive is to you. Whereas so many games that are gacha games will give you fairly ugly, fairly unimportant characters that they're trying to convince you to collect, and that it just isn't going to work for me as a concept. I need something to be visually attractive to a certain level, and I need something to be audio attractive to a certain level, probably a much lesser level than the visuals. And MementoMori does that pretty well. It focuses more on music than I probably would care about, having unique songs for every single character and introducing new characters fairly frequently. Sometimes characters are variants of characters, but for the most part it seems like they are more on the track of just introducing a brand new character always. You get some pretty good experience from me too in MementoMori, and I'm sorry for just sitting here and talking, but I know when we actually start showing off the game it's going to go into a cutscene and explain the story more, which is why I'm not mentioning it yet. But one of the things that I find really good about MementoMori is that it is also mostly an idle game. They have found an amazing balance in that you really only need to go into the game once, unless you make multiple accounts, once per day, unless you make multiple accounts on different servers. Then you'd have to log into each server once per day to do what are effectively daily quests, and all of that is really just management stuff. So you don't actually directly control any of the characters ever. It is completely an idle game that you can mostly hit the skip button almost always. Yeah, there is rarely a case when you wouldn't want to hit the skip button. Sometimes if you skip, you maybe slightly lower the chances of you winning. The way it calculates things, it makes some assumptions if you hit skip, whereas if you actually sit there and watch it, it feels like you increase your odds of winning a little bit. But beyond that, it's still just automated, so either you're going to sit there and watch it or you're going to skip it. And so your daily quests are just managing activity 1, activity 2, activity 3, getting all of that done, getting the premium currency and crystals, and then pulling for new characters with the premium currency of crystals, which makes it very free-to-play friendly. Every time you get a new character, you get their song. You can also purchase their songs, or, well, you get enough currency to purchase their songs for a soundtrack player built in. And then there's a ton of secondary systems that barely matter. You get armor, you get gems to empower your armor, but it is very focused on just getting characters, duplicates of characters, and feeding the duplicates of characters into your character to make them stronger and stronger. And you should go stronger and stronger overall in your team of 5, which is really what you should focus on, is just the 5 best characters you have. You are going to unlock more and more features. So the game feels pretty empty when you start, and at least it did when I started playing. And then as I leveled up, I unlocked more and more, and as I learned more about the game, it unlocked more. So yeah, I think that's enough warm-up from here. This quick look, or episode 1 is probably going to be a quick look, is highly unlikely to be inappropriate, but I still would say it's probably going to be teen plus as far as the game goes. That's really where I'd put this, as a teen plus game, not because of the occasional side boob or cleavage or anything, because that is really minimal, because there just isn't a lot of animation in this game anyway. So if you see like some back being exposed here, it's just going to be in this live 2D loop. It's definitely more covered up and less lewd than going to a beach and seeing a 2-piece bikini, by far. Which I'm emphasizing that because somebody did review this game on Steam as a gooner game, and not really. Like, if you're gonna goon, to use a new term, you can do a lot better than MementoMori. That's not what this game is about. The reason why I'd say it's teen plus, though, is the storyline. Every single character has a backstory in which they are in terrible circumstances. Their life is going awful. They're near approaching the point of being suicidal. And then that grief often overwhelms them and turns them into a witch of Queeloff, I believe is the word. They talk about that early in the game, and then they kind of stop talking about it later as the story has evolved over the years. And then when they become a witch of Queeloff, they are just overwhelmed and monsters, and then you end up having to defeat them to save them. And then you play as this faceless Duke male protagonist who is collecting this harem of witches and saving them, at which point you move on to the next heroine who needs to be saved. And very much it is in the English translations, not really localizing things. So you will have characters that will straight up call you master as the Duke, which is not actually an inappropriate term if you actually are royalty, but it is very much just a senpai type Japanese translation. So it does evoke feelings of a timidness and weakness in the girls, that they submit themselves to you in the sense of calling you master. Honestly, though, in the story, I don't think any of them have ever been able to act on any kind of romantic feelings or anything on the Duke at all. The Duke never really speaks or says anything. He is just the name that the player character is given, and that is it. Which makes it weird when we jump into this first cutscene and we see the first character that you will get in that she feels like she's the main protagonist, but she really stops being the main protagonist pretty quickly, and she is just the first of many. It's also, I think, important to point out that while there's Christian terminology here, there is a Church of Longinus with a pope who happens to be a female character you can eventually collect. And there's a witch hunt. This world is very much different from any historical time in the real world, and the witches are actually magical beings without actual magic powers, but still have no good reason to be persecuted in the way that they are. And the church is very quickly shown to be completely evil and not really trying to do anything in their witch hunt that would help society overall. The church almost has a good argument when you see how much devastation these witches of Queeloff do, in that they often will take over entire countries and decimate them. One of them freezes in the entire country, just every single human being frozen in ice. It is massive amounts of power that they can release. Anyways, so that's our setup. That I'm doing this all wrong by not just tapping to start. Notice this is tap to start. This game has always been widescreen on cell phones, so it really could have been released on day one. It definitely is not particularly demanding visually either, or as far as a gaming PC is concerned. But it's not click to start, so they really have done very minimal translation here. We may very well get a load to start with. So yeah, basic things, terms of service, you're not a minor, agree to the privacy policy. So yeah, even they are saying specifically they don't want minors because there's just so many microtransactions in the game, and the game is built around pushing you to microtransactions. You have to be very, very cautious in any kind of game that's built around microtransactions, in that a lot of them are not designed to be fun at all if you are going to be free to play only, and a lot of them are going to tempt you to spend money. And while I am a sucker for spending money in many, many other forms, I am lucky enough to be strong enough to not fall into temptation as far as buying microtransactions and digital goods, which would be pretty silly to do because I've seen far too many of these games eventually end. On average, a mobile game ends after about 3 years. This one is in like the top 20 earners, so I will suspect that it will stay around for at least 5 years, but eventually it will just kind of dry up, and then they'll probably shut it down in the same way that the Destiny Child game that I was playing before got shut down. And it will probably be done in an unsatisfactory way, in which there won't be a conclusion to the story, or anything like that. Sometimes you can get lucky and they might make a memorial mode or unlock all the content for people, but generally, even if you do something like that, eventually it stops being worth it to update the apps every time there needs to be an update for security patches or some reason like that. Yeah, and I should have been talking while this was downloading. Fruits of the Tree of Life are growing, it says as it loads. That is really kind of late game story that you can kind of spoil. In this world, there is a actual tree of life. I'm not sure if it really looks much like a tree. And reflected below that tree of life is a tree of death. Demons are crawling and gnawing on the tree of death, trying to work their way up to the surface, to the tree of life. Angels might very well be at the top of the tree of life. So it is very much a religious metaphor brought to reality. There are not a lot of talk of demons or angels in this game, but they have been mentioned here and there. Yep, and if I was wise, I would have had this all download first. 2 gigabytes is a massive amount of space for a mobile game. And yeah, I imagine on my cell phone more than 2 gigabytes of data already has been downloaded. But maybe not. It might be that the graphics might be a little bit higher res this time around on PC. When you download the soundtracks for this game, it is through an internal player, so you'd have to probably jump through some hoops to get the songs to just be on your phone as like an MP3 or something like that. They more than likely are OGG files. Not MP3 files to start with. OGG Vorbis files, I think is what that stands for. Yeah, and you can tell that the music here on the front page is playing the same song over and over again, which can get fairly annoying. If you jumped into this game and spent too much time, it would get very repetitive because it will just kind of play at most 5 songs in a loop over and over again, depending on how many characters you have favorited on your home screen. You can have, I think, up to 5, maybe 6 favorited characters, each of which have their own songs. Then when you go into some menus, annoyingly, the menus will change to different songs, which ideally, since this game is all about the music, you would like the song to start playing and for there not to be anything other than maybe the main storyline experience, which you don't play much at all, interrupting that audio. Every other possible activity should just let the one song play, and songs other than this menu song tend to be a lot longer, 2-3 minutes, so you're getting a good 15 minutes of music that it will cycle through. While I'm thinking of it, Also, this game will ask you your birthday, and each character has a special line of dialogue. They will say happy birthday for a few days around your birthday, not just the one day, which is kind of weird, but it does ensure that you hear the lines in case you actually don't play this game every single day. But this definitely is one of those games where you kind of need to play it every single day to get the most out of it. There's a event right now going on that is kind of special, but you get something kind of special every 2 or 3 weeks. It's always cycling something in and out. It's always cycling the premium girls that you can collect from the gacha. So very often it will introduce a new girl, and then you're going to really want to struggle to get at least one copy of that girl, because it's going to be a while before you can get another copy of that girl ever, if you're trying to be a collector and actually own one of everything, which is not really strategically wise, but it is visually and audio wise a thing you probably would want to do. So it's going to be very interesting to me as far as what the game for a new player is going to look like with that event happening. And we'll just go through every single menu at the end to just kind of highlight things, because there's a lot of menus here that you'll just eventually learn you're never going to actually engage with those menus if you're not going to buy anything. And even if you are going to buy something, you're going to find out that many things worth buying are not worth buying. There's actually very few things that are actually worth buying. It all is very nicely around the premium currency of the crystals, and if you're going to spend money, that's basically the only thing you should buy. But then there are secondary shops with secondary currencies that, for the most part, are easily skipped. Now it says it's shaping the world, which for a game like this, I don't assume that that's like encoding shaders or anything like that. It's probably just unpacking the download, unzipping the file, transcribing revelations.
Hey, where did I go wrong? I thought I was ready for this to happen, but... Hey, please, I beg you, save me. A few months ago, the curses of God destroyed every corner of our world in just one night. The land was desecrated, humans powerless to do anything. But as we were determined to cling to our lives, the Church's witch hunt stole all our dreams away. We have to take them back. People's hearts are shattered to pieces, but what can make them whole again is the power of the staff. One girl stands against the Church. One girl spreads hope to others. One girl continues believing in people. Each one is but a small ray of light. But when those small lights unite as one, they become a radiance that transcends the world. Our strong evanescent shine has now begun illuminating the entire world. Like a brief flicker in the dark. The cursed land is turning back to normal. So this is the power of the staff's successor. Your power.
Okay, so I didn't even mention the staff. The staff is really just a tool in the story that you have. It has magical power that seems unique to revert corrupted hearts of the witches of Queeloff into regular girls. And then you start with this character here. And I have to say that having played this game for a couple of years, a lot of those characters in the intro only look slightly similar to the characters you eventually end up collecting. So there is a general concept there that sets up the story, and it does it very nicely to get you into the game. But remember, and this is a problem with most mobile games, we also had to sit there for several minutes to watch it download. Although I am playing another game that is brand new, and the download there took so long that it played a video while it was downloading 3.5 times before the download was finished. So even though it had a video to keep you interested, and while it was downloading, the video was way too short. So yeah, it's been consistently a problem that games just don't preload. On Steam, they can certainly preload and be installed in the background, but since this is a mobile game, it's clearly not really programmed to do that. It was up to date as far as the Steam version of the app, but then as soon as the app launched, it used its own downloader. So, as a new player, you're immediately locked out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 8 sub-menus, or main menus, really, because it really just wants to keep your attention and step you through the tutorial. But further from that, in each of these menus, you are going to probably be locked out of a lot of content in each menu further until you learn those systems.
You probably still don't believe a word I'm saying, but you have the power to save this cursed world.
Now, one thing is that there's some auto-forward modes that even those are locked out at the moment. So you're going to have to play the game manually for a very brief amount of time before you can start to make it a full idle game. Now, I didn't mention why I really need games to be idle games if I'm going to play them on my phone. Is A, I don't have the time, but B, also I have a little bit of arthritis in my hand, and this is definitely a game where if you had to actually control it, it would turn it into a very standard JRPG game where just pushing the same buttons over and over again, and it would be very boring.
It can't be. The Church of Longinus' witch hunt has made its way here?
Longinus, by the way, I should have mentioned, is the name of the soldier who took the spear and stabbed it into the side of Jesus Christ, according to the Christian Bible. So the Spear of Longinus is one of those artifacts that is often mentioned in religious fiction, and actually there are bits of pieces of spears that do claim to actually be the Spear of Longinus. But in the general thought that anything that would have touched Christ, even if to harm him, would be somehow special. The Spear of Longinus in particular is very much connected with Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, where a Spear of Longinus shows up and is talked about in that anime series. And so that's where most Japanese people heard the word and picked up on it.
I'll take down the enemies who attack us. So, in the meantime, please take care of the battle preparations.
You're actually starting in a very weird situation in that you have only one character and you always are going to have a team. By the way, the game is automatically playing right now. She is popping up here and she's fighting enemies and winning, and that is slowly gaining gold for you. Unfortunately, in this game, gold is about the most worthless currency you can possibly have. You'll have millions, if not billions of it, and you'll be able to do very little with it. So, our first battle, Duchy of Fran 1-1, names don't really matter, is going to be against one enemy. And our first reward is going to give us a new character, I believe, and then several sub-currencies, which we'll just go over these fairly quickly. Characters, extremely valuable. This is upgrade water, I think is what it's called. that's used to upgrade levels of equipment and possibly upgrade characters. This is experience orbs, which I think you actually use experience to upgrade characters, although you use 2 or 3 currencies. This is gold. This is a different kind of experience, like I don't even remember. And then you have a weapon, and then you have silver, gold, and bronze chests. I don't think there's a gold here. Which each of these chests require keys, and you will very quickly find that unless you're doing extremely well on a server, you will never have enough keys to open all the chests, nor can you sell chests. So you'll just end up with a ton of chests.
The Church's knights are no pushovers. Make sure you're properly prepared.
So, we have actually 2 characters here. One is a rare level character. One is a normal level character. None of those characters are actually very valuable. If you get up to level 300, this character can be upgraded to be a super rare character, and then can be leveled up, but just won't ever really be that good. And then this character will never be worth it at all. So, we are going to just click on that.
A handmaiden who's a bit timid, but you can rely on her to heal your party.
So we're going to start with 2 characters.
Just be an inexperienced apprentice, but I will do my best to live up to your expectations.
Both normal characters and rare characters are so prominent that you don't need to do anything with them as far as trying to collect them. You will get them all very quickly.
All set? Good.
So you don't really have to worry too much about it.
I'll do my best.
So this is the fight screen, and normally I would have this at 4 times speed, but
this is our victory.
one attack there literally won. No way to lose that.
Leave the rest to me.
So this is your unlock sequence for a new character.
My lord, if there is ever anything that is troubling you, please call upon me.
So we just got Iris, and you want to be really quiet and pay attention to this because you're really never going to be able to see this scene ever again. Once you get a character, that is it. So you get this full screen animation, which is different, and you get 1 line of dialogue. Iris is, I guess, a good example of this is the kind of live 2D image you might see, in that it's just mostly a looping animation with blinking eyes. And this is probably a good example of the bikini level of skin it's going to show, is that you've got anime high fashion armor, so there's some cleavage showing and some thighs showing, and maybe the skirt swings up a little high on the thigh, but you're not really seeing anything here. So, I mean, this hardly even reaches the level of soft core, if you were going to call it that. It's just a little lewd, if you want to take it that way.
Save my life, not once, but twice.
And you don't get this dialogue usually. So we now have a play button, and so we don't have to click.
You will always be there to save me, won't you? Just as you did all those years ago. Oh, my lord. I knew that the only one for me to serve was you.
The world is being ravaged by curses. So why is the church carrying out this witch hunt?
It's because they claim if we kill the witches, then the curses will vanish along with them. Although, it looks like they're the ones behind the spread of the curses.
We've got company. Iris, do you still have some fight left in you?
Of course I do. This world needs the Duke more than anyone right now. I won't let you church swine steal him away from us!
what's interesting here in this cutscene is this might be new for the PC version, and they have actual lip flaps in the
You heard it from
animation.
Iris. We will protect you no matter what comes
So
our
it's
way.
not just looping that the mouth is open and the mouth is closed every time they are speaking, as much as it is opening the mouth when it seems reasonable that the mouth would be opened, and closing the mouth when it seems reasonable that it would be closed, and several degrees in between. So it looks like they're actually properly moving their mouth as if they're actually speaking. Yeah, it might be that the PC version has added some things. It might just be that since you only really see this at the beginning of the game and then never see it again, I've just forgotten it. So things now are leveled up, and we're going to get yet another character.
Iris is not only your attendant, but also your personal guard. If you add her to your party, she'll overpower the enemy with her incredible strength.
So your main character is Ilya, but already we've added 2 other characters.
Leave everything to me. I shall protect you, even if it costs me my life.
All right, let's go.
Now, at the moment, you are not really supposed to learn any of this, but this is building up a 3 blue team, which gives you a 3 of any one color bonus. Whereas this guy has a darkness character, which is giving him a 1 darkness character. It is blue, or water, fire, earth, and then yellow, which maybe is supposed to be air, and then light and darkness. But the balance of the game is not actually particularly that good, so you're going to almost inevitably either strive to make an all blue or an all green team based on what strong super rare character you start off with, and eventually you're going to probably just have some red or yellow that is really powerful too, and so you're not going to try to have like an all 5 blue or an all 5 green just because of one character being strong enough. You're highly unlikely to ever have a lot of darkness characters or light characters. They're extremely hard to get, extremely rare, and thus they're extremely difficult to level up as a free-to-play player. Maybe if you were paying for it, you could have
part of my job.
the light characters or darkness characters. Darkness characters give a bonus for being in the team. Light
Victory is
characters
ours,
will
but you mustn't let this
copy
get to your head, my lord.
the color of the rest of the team. So if I had a light character here, it would then be a 4 blue team in this case. At the end of each battle, you'll have some character at random selected to say some line of dialogue. You're going to hear that dialogue fairly quickly. Very often you're going to just click the next button as fast as possible to get through daily quests. And some of the lines of dialogue are
die right here.
kind of annoying.
Oh, how comforting that would be.
Oh, so you're the ones who saved me. Thank you.
No, you needn't worry. I'll lend you some of my power. But it's best not to get your hopes up. For as you can see, I am but a small, weak maiden.
So, yeah. This is perhaps a little bit more looter of an outfit. Still would be like a bikini. But now we have yet another character in Rosalie. And there are some characters like her, I believe, that have been around for quite a while. That there have been multiple witch hunts, thousands of years. Rosalie has been around. And then there are definitely some characters that look like little kids. There's at least one character that looks like a little kid that's actually supposed to be an adult in the mind. So yeah, the visuals sometimes can be deceptive intentionally. But yeah, this is another rare character
Miss Rosalie.
Yes, you all went through quite the trouble to save me. To think that the Church of Longinus would come all the way out here. And what's more, I found myself taken aback when the curse just suddenly vanished. Ah, I see. So the staff has found its new successor.
You know about this staff?
Just a little. But that was a very long time ago.
Monsters? The air reeks of their bloodlust. And it's getting stronger by the second. Could they be drawn to the staff's power?
Fear not. If you calm yourselves and face the enemy, no cursed creature will ever overpower you.
So the staff that she's holding is not the staff of Destiny, or which is what the
Just as Rosalie says.
staff of
If we calm
Longinus
down
is
and prepare
also
ourselves,
sometimes known
we'll
as
come out
the
victorious.
Spear of Destiny or staff of Destiny. So kind of confusing visuals and kind of confusing storyline too, in that it kind of feels like Ilya, the character that is doing most of the talking and will do most of the talking until she just goes quiet once you get very far into the game, is the one holding on the staff and using the staff, whereas actually I think it is the Duke that is holding the staff and using the staff. But he basically has a team fight for him, and once they're knocked down he uses the staff. It's weird how the tutorial here is giving me characters, because that just stops happening after the tutorial, and you only get characters by invoking them, which is this screen. And they really want you to learn this, so they're going
Rosalie
to start
said she's
here.
just a small, weak maiden, but she's actually an amazing witch who many call the Great Sorceress.
So, one thing to note is that she is of the green faction, so
All set?
I would need another green
Let's go.
so I could have basically a full house. 3 of one color, 2 of another color to get a bonus. Or you could get a 4th blue and get a 4 bonus. These bonuses, though, stop really mattering so much, and can certainly lead players to think that they need to just have a team of all one color, but there actually aren't that many characters or options that would make for a good team of all one color. And yeah, there is a whole rock, paper, scissors element there, in that fire I think is weak to green, and maybe yellow is weak to blue, or something like that. It might be fire is weak to green, and then green is weak to yellow, and then yellow is weak to blue, and then blue is weak to red. And then I think darkness and light are equally weak to each other, which would just balance each other out and leave it unchanged.
I suppose I have no choice.
You're done for.
The background animation here
Listen to your
loops
elders.
over and over again. It's nice, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Even
It's
after
just
200 years, I'm still going strong.
right. So I was wrong about 1,000 years, but she's 200 years old. She was a magical spell was put on her, basically. Which, sure, some people will say, well, oh, this is just the old anime trope where it's a moe kid-looking character, but you say, but actually she's 200 years old. I don't think the game is really going for that at all. I think each of the characters actually do have stories they actually care about in their backstory, so they wouldn't do that. Plus, you just have too many other characters that are, at best, 18 years old that look like they are 12 years old. When you get into the individual stories of characters too, it's more than just the lip flaps and the occasional blinking. You will see characters have happy faces, sad faces, very often sad faces, crying faces, so that there's like 5 or 6 different animations that you'll get in the main story. This is definitely a breaking point, though. If you don't like the moe or kawaii art style, I'd say this is probably closer to the kawaii art style, in that it is anatomically incorrect by a little bit, but not by such an amount that it's ridiculous that they're even shorter. But yeah, if you don't like that, if that just totally is a turn off for you, you're not going to get anywhere in this game, and you probably wouldn't have ever even installed it. But even if you do love it, you're not going to get that much. You can certainly enjoy this game as just an idle gacha game to waste some time every day, and ignore the characters, and you could enjoy the music certainly, if you like that. The music is pretty professional, and I think the Japanese versions of the songs are probably even better than the English translated ones, because the English translated ones have to squeeze dialogue into the beats of songs designed for Japanese dialogue, which means it sometimes comes off a little rushed, a little weird. So we've ranked up to level 2, which increases our attack and HP. You're going to have a lot of these stats. They don't really matter too much. You don't have to pay attention to them. And your population goes up every time you defeat one of these dots. This is your world map.
We somehow managed to win, but the enemies have gotten stronger. Still, we can't afford to stop now.
So yeah, your population going up really increases the amount of resources as far as experience to level up characters that you get. And so now we have a team of 4 popping up on the side and defeating enemies that are a team of 1. You can see these flowers here. These are indications of curses that are on entire cities in your land. So once you get far enough, you're going to remove the curses, and that is going to save your land and move to the next country, which there's quite a few of them.
We needn't hurry. Haste makes waste. You've become used to wielding the power of the staff, so now you should be able to help us level up.
Okay. Now there's a lot of secrets, so we now have unlocked a new section and are being brought to the new section, so we weren't going to just spend another hour doing the boss battles. In fact, very quickly we're going to start being able to skip through the boss battles and have a very speedier experience.
As you envision the one you wish to level up, reach out and touch them.
Now this game is literally telling you to level up Ilya, but it is really hiding from you what the experience is going to be in the future. In the sense that you don't have the Awaken unlocked, where you feed characters into characters to increase their maximum level, and you don't have level link unlocked, where you take the top 5 most powerful characters, and once you get all their levels up to about level 200, it can then just give 200 levels for free to every other character that you put into the level link system. So you only need to level up 5 characters, and if the more efficient you can be about this, the better. But it has to be the right 5 characters too, and you're not going to have equal opportunity depending on your starting of the game. You're going to eventually start getting random characters that are different from other players. So Ilya literally is your only real choice here. If you leveled up this one, you would eventually regret it. If you leveled up this normal level character, you almost certainly would regret it. There is going to be a point where you can no longer level up characters that aren't in the level link, or level up characters individually. And so if you want to save yourself some time and never have any of the 4 normal characters, which that's the entirety of them, there's only 4 of them, then you could level them up to level 100, and it would only be slightly wasteful to do that. But fairly quickly they're going to tell you to just start getting rid of these characters, because you can't even feed these characters into each other to increase their max level. Arcana is what this says. Not, you might think it says arena. Happens when you collect certain groups of characters. The index shows you each character. And yeah, we're nowhere close to any of that.
Now, make your wish.
So, yeah. Weirdly, though, you are going to hit a max level of 100 here pretty quickly. And let's just show the screen here of 6 different pieces of equipment you can have, which you're going to barely pay attention to any of that. There is a custom weapon you can get for each character, but it is so expensive and uses a premium currency in the sense that you're not going to get a lot of it. Not in the sense that you have to pay for it. That you're really only going to get a special weapon for those top 5 characters. And Ilya is just not going to be one of your top 5 characters at all. But yeah, the equipment, for each of the 6 pieces of equipment, you can unlock gem slots and add gems and move stats up. These stats are barely going to change much at all. It's mostly just their skills, which even learning the skills kind of don't matter. In fact, for the vast majority of time playing this game, you're just going to hit equip all and level up. And that's the only thing you're going to do on the screen. You can see there's gold currency, there's this crimson currency, and there's this experience currency.
Amazing! I feel power surging from deep inside my body. So this is your power. As it so happens, we've also gotten a hold of some new gear. So let's hurry and equip them. Perfect! The enemies
So we
are
have a
bound to
level
get
1
stronger from
weapon.
this point on.
You're eventually
But with
going to
your
get
power, no one will stand a
level
chance against
180
us.
weapons so frequently that you just start getting rid of them. Now you can't level up any further, which I have enough experience and items where I could probably level this one up to at least level 50, and you can't lock the character, which you're going to want to do so that you know this is the character you're going to start with, and you're not going to accidentally level up a duplicate of this character or feed this character into another character. But yeah, they want to get you back into the actual gameplay, so here we are now taking on level 4 bosses.
We will not let anyone get hurt ever again. Done for.
And so we may actually go 2 turns here
I always catch
in the
my
fight.
prey. Listen to your elders.
Very often you are going to just hit a point where you
See?
fight a boss,
Even after 200
and the
years,
boss is going to be
I'm
way more
still
difficult
going strong.
than the levels around the boss. So you are going to pretty quickly start jumping past big chunks of the map until you get to the boss levels. Then you're going to potentially be stuck on the boss levels for months and months and months, particularly since a lot of characters will be at a max level of like 240, 300, and then until you can get a lot more duplicates of that character to increase their max level, there's just nothing you can do to power up.
It must be the one who unleashed this curse. The Witch of Clefa. But take a
Clefa.
good look at that town. We can't even get near it because of the curse. At this rate, the whole country will be destroyed. Someone's got to stop her before that happens.
So that is the curse of the Witch of Clefa. I never imagined it to be this horrifying.
Wait, with how strong we are now, we may be able to save that town.
Huh?
The staff has the power to restore the cursed land. If it can do that, then it can possibly do the same to any town ravaged by the curse. Of course, it's easier said than done. But if it's you, then perhaps...
Please, use your power and save them all.
So I don't know where the phrase Quifla it comes from. It sounds like it's just kind of a made up term, but it might mean something. So leveling up with our population increases it.
It's been ravaged by the curse, but it'll really return to normal? Amazing!
So you have these like fictional people you're saving, but the numbers get very big very fast. And early in the game,
it seems you not only have the power to dispel the curse, but also the power to rebuild an area affected by it. Now, touch the town with your hand.
again, it is expecting you to play this on a touchscreen.
Next, envision how the town would look once you've restored it.
So yeah, there's a visual aspect here. I don't think it changes anything though. I think you get the same resources regardless. If there was a strategy here, they make it so unobvious that you're not going to be able to figure it out. So if you want it to look different, you'd normally have the option to make it look different. Eventually, it stops even presenting that as an option because it is kind of just a feature that's pointless. Which, yeah, as the game expanded and went further and further, I think they started to focus very wisely on the important things and less on the things that maybe make it feel a bit more like a video game, but then also are just wasting people's time. So we get rewards.
To think you've already mastered the staff's power this much. It's certainly no coincidence that this era would see someone of your talent emerge.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous praise they're pouring on you.
Up ahead may be another town that you can heal with your power. When the time comes, please do everything you can to help. For no matter how much pain they may be in, just having a place to go home to is enough for people to persevere.
So now the game actually is a little bit unlocked. So we can actually go here now and do what we want to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour 100 levels into this and see if I can actually get up to level 199 levels. You're not getting experience for winning. So the thought here is just, is it going to only use these resources and these resources, which are in the long run very abundant? No. Once you get to level 10, it starts to use this third resource, which then that will give me a new skill. And we have level 10 equipment that we can now equip. And that's literally all we can do with that character. We can lock this character, and then we could stupidly put 100 levels into it, but we don't have those resources. Now weirdly, there is a factor here in that if I came back tomorrow, there would be more resources to collect, and so then I could reuse those resources. But right now, the resources are going to be pathetically low, just a little bit of gold. And see, we just jumped from rank 2 to rank 4 just by collecting that. And so with that, I can now equip level 1. I don't even remember these level of equipment. Leather items, which again, that might be an example of equipment that barely even needs to be in the game because you're not going to see it in the long haul. So now we've got equipment on everybody, and so we're just really powering up. I could also do a quick battle. The first time is for 0 gems, but then the second time I believe costs gems. So you have to be careful not to do this twice in a row, otherwise you'll waste your gems, because this is definitely not one thing you want to actually spend gems on. Yeah, this is very much a strategy game and kind of complicated in that it's an hour to get to this point. I've taken an hour to get this point. Other people probably would have taken 30 minutes to get to this point.
Listen to your elders.
But yeah, we very much are one-turn victories.
See? Even after 200 years, I'm still
in this
going
case.
strong.
And the game will go on for only 50 turns. So if you get somehow incredibly balanced, which is highly unlikely, to the point that 50 turns happen, you will automatically lose. But you don't really have to worry about that. We can now show the rewards. 3 with the same soul. That's what these are called, the soul bonuses. Gives you plus 10% on HP and health. 3 plus 2 of the same soul, as in 3 of one color and 2 of the other, is a full house, gives you 15. 4 of one color gives you 20 HP and 15 attack, whereas 5 will give you 25 HP and 25 attack. Radiant souls are separate from chaos souls and can be counted towards soul bonuses, which just means if you had 3 blues and then 2 radiants, you would get a 5 bonus here. Chaos souls do not count towards these bonuses at all, but if you have a chaos soul, just 1 will immediately give you plus 25% defense. 2 will give you 5% HP drain. 3 will give you a defense break of 1000, which that might be a stat that's actually very useful. Most of these stats are not worth paying attention to. 4 gives you counter plus 10%, and then 5 gives you critical damage boost plus 30%. So if you have 5, you will have all of these stats added, which could be a massively powerful group if you are paying to win and you have a whole bunch of highly leveled up max level chaos characters. If money was no object, you would have a team of 5 chaos characters, and you would max them out to the maximum level possible. But in realistic play styles, you're not really going to be able to have even 1 chaos soul. A chaos character generally implies that it's a bad guy character, or at least originally was a bad guy character, or girl character, since they're all girls. There's not a single boy in this game other than the Duke, which, yeah, feels like they could throw in at least 1 male character here and there. Whereas the light radiant souls imply that they are more angelic versus demonic, and that they may have higher affiliations.
I suppose this is also part of my vow.
Done for! What a pain in the...
But even now you can see how the background is really repetitive and the attack sequences of the characters are very repetitive. They're nice and all, but if you actually had to sit here and watch it for the long haul, you wouldn't really want to do that. And that's why this game only works in that menu being incredibly skippable and happening in the background. These are the battles you're seeing here are the same battles that are playing in the background. So theoretically, it is just calculating all of this on their servers when you're not running the application as far as the victories go. And it's actually not that hard for them to really calculate that. They just have a calculated return per hour as far as resources. So at some point 2 times speed unlocked, so we can do 2 times speed, but eventually we will get 4 times speed, and that's going to speed things up. You can see there though I almost lost.
Even after 200 years, I'm still going strong.
And so we may just play to a
What in
point.
the world did we just fight? They looked human like us, yet something was different about them.
Those were shadows of the heart. When a heart falls into despair, the negative emotions that overflow take the form of violent shadows. It must be another effect of the curse.
I've never
done anything bad. But just because I'm a witch. Why?
Huh? Where did that voice come from?
A witch's power comes from her heart. When you come into contact with the curse, or the power of Clefa, you also come into contact with that witch's heart. The Witch of Clefa isn't too far from here. Perhaps the power of the staff has helped you see something.
So yeah, the Shadows of the Heart concept does not go anywhere in the game either. You are just fighting kind of random enemies that show up.
Now you can use your power to see into everyone's memories.
So we haven't even gotten to the first boss fight. Now we've unlocked our third element, which is the home screen, which there is a massive amount of stuff missing from the home screen at the moment. Particularly you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are locked, and then there usually is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 to 6 things over here that are going to be event things. And then you always get this little advertisement on here. I wish you could turn this off. As far as beginner's guide, because this game is a strategy game, it's kind of complicated. Following them on X / formerly known as Twitter, and just more guides. And then usually there's some other advertisements telling you to keep on playing. There's also some quick menu settings here that also are somewhat helpful for changing settings and such. It's weird that those are locked. But this is the big part of the story here, is that you'll start getting the memories of your character Elia, and she's gonna just tell you that, and it's weird that this is how you get to them. You'll hear this background musical notes very often.
A country incinerated by hellfire. A kingdom consumed by crystals. An empire purged by the tree of life. These calamities, known as curses, appeared without warning and laid waste to every single nation. But I refuse to let that stop me, because above all else, as the one entrusted with the staff by Her Holiness, I don't want to lose anyone important to me ever again. With my heart filled with determination, I took my first step into the ravaged world, to search this vast land for the one and only successor.
So yeah, she was given the staff of Longinus by the Pope of the Church of Longinus, and she found you, the Duke of Fran, and gave it to you, and assumedly you were holding on to it most of the time, because you don't see her holding on to a staff, you see her holding on to a sword. Now the first time you see any of these stories, you get 20 of the premium currency crystals, which is not really enough. You need, I believe, 300 to even do one draw for any characters. So you get a little,
Because
but
of
that's
the
it.
witch hunt, every witch in the world has been persecuted. Even girls burdened with the sufferings they've experienced in the past.
Depending on what level she's up to, as far as if she's below level 100, she may not be able to go all the way through all the chapters in her story. And you can come back and listen to these stories a second time, which you're probably going to need to do over the long haul, because you're going to forget what character's story is what. A lot of characters have some relation to other characters, but a lot of characters are also very much disconnected from Ilya and other groups of characters.
As kind as you are, you'll probably want to avert your eyes. I can't force you to look at them either.
Yeah. Even here, the game is telling you you're probably going to not want to know these stories because they are so sad and depressing, which is weird because the music isn't really sad and depressing. Or not that sad and depressing usually. And the game isn't that sad and depressing. So the writer here definitely on a different tone than the music and the gameplay is.
But I want you to get to know these girls as much as possible.
And it definitely is kind of a suffering porn type narrative for a lot of characters.
How much pain they are in. Just having someone at their side should be enough for them to overcome it.
And so yeah, you get these stories of them being incredibly sad and depressed and terrible things happening to them. And then the last chapter is always, but then they found the Duke of Fran and he saved them and changed everything. And now things are looking better. But yeah, that's literally all they wanted us to do on the home screen to start with.
Let's push on ahead. It's only a little further until we reach the Witch of Clefa.
Yeah. Definitely feels to me like even the game knows that doing the same thing over and over again is going to get fairly boring. And it is going to get to the point now where I'm going to struggle to win. While you can defeat enemies that are very high level above you, they can't be too high level above you.
I'm still going strong.
And even in this case, you can see that there's a lot of repetition going on with this one character. Yeah. And see, I just tried to look for a phrase called Quifla as they're spelling it, and nothing comes up on Google. What I instead get is a Quipoth, Qlipoppoth, which is apparently a reference to Jewish mysticism, Zohar, Luranic Kabbalah, Hermetic Kabbalah. So yeah, more than likely that is where the reference comes from, but it's being translated by Japanese people who can barely say English words, let alone spell them correctly. That's probably true for Jewish mysticism words too. But yeah, that's not something I've even heard of. But that does seem like that is the origin of it.
Not let anyone get hurt ever again. You're done for.
I wish more artistic people around the world would borrow from like religions and to do religious fiction and fantasy, but
you mustn't let this get to your head, my lord.
Since most Western countries consider religion to be fairly sacred, they won't typically do that, whereas Japanese people don't care. And they don't even care about their own Hinduism and Buddhism religions enough to take it particularly seriously. Let's go over here and select this before we go too far.
I suppose I have no choice. You're done for.
But yeah,
Listen to your elders.
the number of Japanese companies that have made a video game that borrows from Judeo-Christian stories is
Once again,
probably
couldn't protect anyone.
100 to 1 compared to the number of Western developers who have made a game that borrows from those stories. So we have our first loss. What do you lose when you lose? Nothing, just time, really. It tells you random suggestions, none of which are actually specific to the situation. Level up your characters, change the formation of your party, equip stronger pieces of gear. What it doesn't tell you, though, is that your best bet is to actually just try again. Because in this game,
We were so close. Just a
once you
little
get
more
further
and we could've
along,
won.
you can basically skip through 30 to 60 to maybe 100 battles, and 1 out of 100 times you'll just win. And then the next 20 or 30 battles will be easy enough that you'll win automatically. So it does become just mashing the button, the skip button, is one of the first things you need to do. Now eventually you are going to have to level
Even
up.
when you're not here, we never stop fighting to save the world. You can see every detail about our battles from here.
So yeah, you get this experience, orbs, this experience, this, and this. And I think this experience is a player level experience, which you don't do too much with when you collect it.
Here's the loot from our battles. Tap the rewards and see what kind of items we've obtained. As we save more people and our population grows, so will our rewards. If we push forward, we'll also see more rewards from enemies. So, let's keep going.
So I stupidly am talking about things that are going to unlock through the tutorial section, which this is still very much the tutorial section. So, from this, we now have a big pile of gold and a big pile of this. And again, we will just want to push up this character as high as possible. But then you're going to max out this character. And then I don't know what you're really going to do after that. And clearly equipment is making a difference at this incredibly low level. Yeah, we can probably level up this one a couple, and that's not going to be too wasteful. Like 6 weeks into this game, if you stick around and do the dailies for 6 weeks, leveling up this character to 100 won't matter one bit.
Let's use these rewards and level up immediately.
I literally just did that. Well, whatever.
We will not let anyone get hurt ever again. You're done for.
What you will eventually find is that you're going to have one character that is likely to be your attacker,
Victory is ours.
and the other characters
But you
might be
mustn't let this get to your head, my lord.
debuffers or healers, or maybe you'll have 2 attackers. But when you have that one character that's your attacker, even amongst your top 5 group, that one character is going to be what you put almost all your focus in on leveling up. So, here's the first Witch of Quifla. With that, she has her song. So they have this interesting thing in that they have a Roman numeral in their eye. So this is number 10, which, yeah, next one will be number 9, number 8, all the way down to number 1, which actually playing for years, I still think I am still on number 3. So it is going to be very much a long journey. When you defeat this character, you get her, and then once you use the staff to cure her, she loses the 10 and has regular eyes. So But this is where you get into the real big battle. That is going to be much more challenging. And that's why you get this whole warning. Plus you get this unique imagery, which you're probably never going to see again. So she is a level 12 Radiance character. She'll be the first Radiance character you get. But like all the other Radiance characters, you're not going to get a lot of copies of her.
Everything should just disappear.
You're done for.
There's different audio when you jump into this.
To your elders. You're mine.
And despite being in streamer mode, this
My blade shines
audio for her song is playing fine. So my thought is that there might be as few as 2 songs in this game that are not actually licensed to be on
done for.
streamer mode. Particularly since
To everyone.
every single song gets put
Our
on
victory.
Bank of Innovation, which is the developer of this game's YouTube page, before the character is even released. And they sell a soundtrack. They're up to their 2nd soundtrack. So I wouldn't be surprised even if you had streamer mode off, you would find that you're only getting content ID'd on the game and that you wouldn't get copyright struck. But I wouldn't really risk it either. Particularly if it really is only a couple songs that don't play.
We somehow stopped the Witch of Clefa. But I didn't expect her to be such a young girl.
She may have been a normal, gentle girl to begin with. But it seems like someone used the weakness in her heart to send her raging out of control.
No way. Who would do such a thing?
I can't say for certain. Nevertheless, the power of the staff seems to have restored her. It shouldn't be long before she wakes up.
Are there witches of Clefa in other countries as well? Forced to lose control of their powers, like Natasha was?
Indeed. There are 10 witches of Clefa in the world. I dare say that someone is forcing them all to rage out of control, thereby evoking the 10 curses that are spreading throughout the world.
My body!
Hey, what's wrong?
Everything hurts. Maybe the curse wasn't dispelled, but instead... I'm fine. It's nothing. I'm just a little tired. More importantly, if we free the witches of Clefa from whoever's controlling them, the world will be saved, right? Alright, we have to get going. There's no time to waste.
So we have a network error that popped up, and I think that might have something to do with the time that I'm playing this, but maybe not. So when I click close, it's going to just exit out, and then we'll have to load back in. So right in the middle of a cutscene, but logging in this time.
We somehow stopped the Witch of Clefa, but I didn't expect her to be such a young girl.
So
She may have been
the
a
story
normal,
does
gentle
go
girl to
past
begin
the 10
with.
witches of Queefla
But
after that point, so
seems like
it doesn't
someone
just
used the
end.
weakness in her heart
And
to
only a
send her
few
raging
players
out
per
of
server, I
control.
think, have even made it
No
past
way.
that anyways,
Who would do
because it
such a
just
thing?
gets like
I
almost
can't say for
exponentially
certain.
harder with each
Nevertheless,
next
the
character.
power of the staff seems to have restored her. It shouldn't be long
But
before she wakes up.
Then
Are
there
there
is
witches of
also
Clefa
this
in other
idea
countries as well?
that the curses
Forced to
are
lose control of their powers, like
being
Natasha was?
absorbed by
Indeed. There are 10
Ilissa.
witches of Clefa in the
Ilia
world.
is her name.
I dare say that someone is forcing them all to
But
rage out of control.
that
thereby
storyline
evoking the
too is
curses
only
that
gonna
are spreading
start
throughout the world.
taking root and being told
My body!
Hey,
in
what's wrong?
a very distant
Everything
future.
Maybe the curse wasn't dispelled, but instead... I'm fine. It's nothing. I'm just a little tired. More importantly, if we free the witches of Clefa from whoever's controlling them, the world will be saved, right? Alright, we have to get going. There's no time to waste. Shall we get going? The next country is the Woodland Nation, the Principality of Brook. It's a nation afflicted by a curse that shrouds the land in ice, hindering anyone who dares enter.
So that's your first tutorial chapter. And here you have a little bit of description of the country that you can read later, but you can easily also skip and never read. And so you get to the next country, which is floating on the map above the rest of the world. And so now you magically bring it back down. I don't know if that literally is supposed to imply that it's floating in the air, but I would take it to believe that it probably is. And then you start getting the 2-1.
The ability to invoke. The battles from this point on will get even tougher. But with your power, we're bound to find new allies who will help us.
So you will get more story as the game goes, but fairly quickly after this point, you stop getting these cutscenes in the tutorial section, and you only get story when you unlock a new character. Which, how do you unlock new characters? You
Let's go
evoke.
and give it a try.
Okay. So, the Prayer of the Cursed will give you normal to super rare characters, which this character and this character is really what you're looking for. This character and this character not so much. As one of your super rare characters you're going to actually start to pay a lot of attention to. This Prayer of the Fleeting is the current newest character to collect, and you have only a limited amount of time to get, and I can't even click on it, nor do I have enough gems. I would need 300 to even roll once, and then I can't scroll down, but then eventually you'll have a Prayer of Friendship, I believe is what it's called, that you get low-level characters through friend points and having friends, and then you'll have a couple more summons eventually that you'll unlock that are technically the best summons because they will give you a lot of rewards, but they are slightly more expensive. Instead of taking 300 gems, they cost 500 gems, but you have a chance of winning a very, very, very low chance of winning 30,000 gems doing that instead, and you get rewards in a lot of the secondary currency. But here we're just starting with 10 of these tickets, which is a secondary currency for this. And this is what you're looking for, is these animations here.
If only I could express how I feel inside, so that one day the bud in me could blossom into a beautiful flower. Hello. How about a flower to brighten your day?
So, Frezia's song is also playing fine. She's not particularly a character that you want, according to what I know of the game, which I could be missing something. But you are going to get her eventually, and you do want one copy of her, so no big deal there. That was the gold around this. And then
If there really is something that someone like me can do. Memories of loving you so I'm sorry. I may be more of a burden to you than anything, but please, I want to protect Soul properly this time.
Luna Lynn's song also playing. Now weirdly, she's the next witch you have to fight, so you've already gotten her just at random, which does, I think, also show that you're not particularly going to use her very often. A lot of these characters get somewhat abstract in the way they're depicted, where you just have flowing cloth that turns into basically smoke in a lot of cases. And yes, you can see that they come in several different flavors as far as body proportions are concerned. Although, yeah, This game did say it wasn't for minors, and unless you are just like a horny 18-year-old, you're not getting a lot there. She's a darkness character, and so you're not going to do that. Arguably, this is where you would re-roll and start the whole game over again with this first roll, but that would take you probably an hour. So you can also certainly very well live with this.
I see you found a new ally to join us. Now, let's return to the estate for a moment.
So the home is effectively the estate, not just a home screen. So now we have a significant amount of things unlocked.
Let's check them out.
So, yeah. Here's your daily missions.
You've already achieved so much. I knew you had it in you. Go ahead and collect them all.
So this gives us 3 more of the tickets to summon. We do now have 400 gems, but there is a really good argument to not summon anything until you unlock the more expensive 500 gems possibility, but that's going to be a long time, so you'd have to power through the game to do it.
Mission. Let's head out and clear it.
Eventually, you have extra rewards for clearing missions for the dailies and the weeklies, which it's not letting me look at those. Instead, it's just moving back to continuing the play. And so it's telling me to throw in this character, which is not a terrible pick. It's better than picking that.
I suppose I have no choice.
So this is our first 5-on-5 battle. But even at 2-1, we still don't have 4 times speed, nor do we have the skip mode.
I'm sorry.
This
but
game
we
just
need to
really
keep
drips
moving
out
forward.
Progress. And a rank up here eventually stops doing much for you. It doesn't really do much for you even now. And progress on the menu is gonna
Lend me your strength. This be enough?
prove itself to feel really good in the early game, and then you're really just kind of bait and switched into a completely different type of gameplay later on. Not that it's bad gameplay, it's just you're doing a very different thing. It's much more strategic, it's much more hands-off, it's much more just setting up your lineup and coming back the next day as you unlock more and more things. Which, I don't know if this is an example of just like a really well-designed onboarding experience for video games, or if this is just actually a very poorly designed onboarding experience that works, because if you just grin and bear it and go through it, there's less of a, yeah, you never see it after that fact.
Victory is ours. But you mustn't let this get to your head, my lord.
From a game development design aspect, I can't help but feel like the game developers feel like they are underutilizing a lot of their content later on in the mid game and the late game.
Will this be enough?
Some of these characters here
Time to turn the tide.
are
This appears to be
actual characters you can get, but some of these are characters that you will just never fight or never collect. Like these 3 at the bottom are never collectible, these 2 are collectibles. And we do now finally have 4 times speed. And yeah, the game doesn't really even tell you, it just puts up a red dot.
Master, if you're going to scold someone, please scold me.
Okay. So we lost. Now we have the awaken thing, which the game is not really telling me that.
Looks like you can awaken characters here.
Instead,
If you raise our
you
rarities,
click on
we'll
it
get
first.
even stronger. Go and select the character you want to awaken.
So,
Awakening needs the power of allies. Next, select characters who meet the requirements.
To go from a silver frame to a silver frame with a gold floret, you need 2 of the same characters. But then, to go from a floret here to a gold frame, you just need 2 other silver with gold florets of any character. But then, I believe to get a gold floret, you need 2 gold of the same character, and so it kind of goes back and forth and back and forth. And after you get to the gold with floret, you go to purple, then you go purple with floret, and then after you go to purple, I think you go to red, then you go to red with floret, and then after you go to red with floret, you go to black, a darker black frame. And at that point, it works slightly different in that you are at the limited rarity, the highest level, and you can feed limited rarity characters 2 gold florets of the same character to increase your limited rarity to a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star. Which, if you did the entire compound math there, it means you need probably close to 128 copies of the characters
Now we can awaken this character.
to get them to the max level, or get lucky in some other ways. The actual amount you change, though, it's not really that much by leveling up. It increases your battle power, which doesn't really affect too much. It's just a number that goes up and up. And in this case, it's not even going to increase my max level.
Thank you. I owe it to you for helping me get stronger again.
So she went from an R to an R+, as far as rare to rare plus. You'll get one of a few random lines of dialogue here, which you can go back and hear these dialogues later from their character screen. But you can't really see this animation without leveling them up again. Yeah, here it's just a pop-up text explanation of what I just kind of said. Is 2 golds with florets of any characters fed to another gold with floret becomes a purple. That being said, it's important to know that you don't want to put something that starts as a super rare and use that, and it will even give you a warning to level up something that is a normal rarity, because that would be just very wasteful. And then I'm going to go ahead and lock this one. We have 2 copies of this character. You can see one here and one here. Neither one are locked. So I'm going to lock one there. Nope. I'm actually going to unlock that. And see, it's very easy to get confused here because of the sort order, which you are better off doing this, I believe. Selecting rarity, descending order, and sorting that way. But then that's going to not look particularly right at the moment, but it will eventually look right as you start to level up characters. But the point I was trying to make is this is a level 3, this is a level 1, this is a level 1. You cannot feed this character. It's not even being shown because the normal characters are useless. So what you do is you just release them and you get another couple of secondary currencies. And it's so obvious that that is the only thing you can do with them that you might as well just check automatically releasing them even early in the game. There's just no reason to keep them in your roster at all. The problem now is picking what you want to start focusing on, and your best bet is probably to do this. Come in here and see if you can get another gold character using your tickets, otherwise it would cost 300. Any gems you get, really, you should try and get potpourri right now, or whatever is the top prayer or fleeting, because there is only 13 days to get this. Now this is also a fleeting character that has already been out, and all of their songs are playing fine. Yeah, this one has only 5 days. Prayer of Beginnings is something new that you only get at the very beginning of the game, and you can see what they actually are offering as far as all of that goes. Let's see. And I think you have to wishlist a character, so I don't think you can wishlist any characters unless you have one copy of them first. So you probably should not pull this until you have one copy of the characters. Otherwise, you're increasing your odds fairly poorly to get something lower that's not that helpful. Getting Natasha or Lunarlin, for instance, is not really what you want. What you want is Cordy or Amleth, and more you want Amleth, but you're highly likely to get Cordy. If you get Cordy and Nina and Merlin, you get a nice 3-team early on, whereas if you get Amleth, no, it's not Amleth you want. I think it's Florence you want, actually. And Madi and Fenrir maybe are the next best team of 3. Yeah. It's kind of hard to remember which ones are the important ones. And then the Prayer of Friendship uses friendship points, which means you have to have friends. And then this Prayer of Emerald will give you only green characters, but also only green characters that are not of super rare, or they're not particularly that rare. So again, if you wanted more Cordys, you might do that. But then this changes every single day to a different color. And then there are 2 more that aren't unlocked yet and won't be unlocked for a while. And then as far as the wish list goes, well, it is filled in. So at the moment, your wish list is set pretty nicely automatically. I didn't think the game did this. Maybe this is new. But weirdly, the way the wish list works is that you have to have 20 characters in all the slots. When a super rare card is pulled, one of those 20 characters with a Soul Radiance or a character with Soul Radiance or Soul Chaos will appear. So that limits the number of super rares you get. If you have less than 20, it doesn't do anything at all. So it doesn't increase your odds if you only selected this character to try and get, or this character to try and get. So you still have a very high chance of getting something you're not really looking for. Let's see. Go ahead and we'll continue to level up. Eventually, you will get a button that just says max level. go. And so that's leveled up, and we'll keep that. And then we'll be silly and level that up. But yeah, the only reason I'm leveling this up is to get it to level 100. Because there's only 4 of these characters, once again. And keeping them at level 100 before you hit the point where you can no longer individually level up characters, which the game really should tell you that eventually happens. Let's see if we can win now.
So, lend me your strength. Will this be enough? I can't afford to lose. Done for.
4 times speed is still kind of slow. We're looking for the skip.
Victory is ours.
And eventually I'm going to start playing very fast here to try and get as far as possible, because there's still quite a lot here. Although a lot of this game you just aren't going to see in the first couple hours.
Huh? Your staff is glowing. I wonder what's making it do that. Let's go and find out.
You're still very much in this tutorial path where now things are finally unlocked, with the exception of guilds, which are just guilds, but they have some other elements here. So here are your trials.
Where are we? We're somewhere different all of a sudden.
So trials are just a whole nother subset of daily quests to do.
Wait, could this be the world of trials? The illusionary realm set to guide the ones chosen by the staff? I can't believe it really exists.
So basically nothing that happens here is real, but it does give you rewards, so definitely don't skip it.
Anyway, let's press forward. I think something might be waiting for us there.
So here you can see they start to just straight up tell you that you can't do the Fountain of Prayers quests, which is literally just assigning certain characters of certain colors to quests until you beat 312. You can't do the Battle Leagues, which is having your team play against other players, preset teams, which you're going to lose on most of those anyways, but you can't do that until 4-4. The Legend League unlocks at 714, but in reality I've only once been able to actually do Legend League because the competition there on the worlds I play is just too high. It really is for the top 1,000 players, top 100 players of the game, and if you're just not doing really good or paying to win, more than likely you're never going to actually engage with Legend League, which sucks because there are some rewards you can only get from that. Temple of Illusions is perhaps the most annoying function on your daily quest, in that you get a bonus at 2 times every day. One, I believe, is 2:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and one is, I believe, 8 o'clock or 8:30. I am almost never available at those times. Either I'm asleep or doing something else, so I very often struggle to get those bonuses. But if you can't be available at those times, you can just do the Temple of Illusions to get more rewards. The Tower of Infinity are effectively just more battles where you just go up, the number goes up, level 1, level 2, level 3, but they are specifically different challenges in that only one of the towers lets you build a team of any color, whereas every other of the 4 towers require you to have an all green team, an all blue team, an all red team, and an all yellow team, and you're unlikely to have particularly strong yellow teams or red teams. Cave of Space-Time is yet another way to present more battles. The only difference here is that there is some actual strategy here.
The space inside here is warping. So it's a dangerous place that takes on a different form every time we enter.
It's randomized. It shows up basically every 2 days or so. You don't do it every single day.
But if this really is the world of
If you
trials,
lose all your
then there should be
characters,
something here that can
you can
help
heal
us.
them with this.
Let's proceed with caution.
Every time you win, you get a blessing that changes your stats. And this is the one place where having an overall team of more than 5 characters actually helps, because you're going to be fighting a lot of people and you're not going to be regaining your health afterwards. So you pick your way. These ferrymen are fairly difficult, and but they have high rewards. These statues will revive characters or heal them if you don't have anybody to revive one character. This will heal all of your characters. This will sell you things using the premium currency. I don't think it's ever worth actually doing that. And then the boss will be very difficult. Sometimes there's events that have even a couple extra things that you have to fight. There are 3 levels for 48 hours. At the end of the second level, you eventually unlock a red path that's more difficult for more rewards, and very quickly you'll start doing the red path always, and eventually you'll just unlock a skip where you skip the first 2 levels completely. There are 2 types of creatures. One are more human, one are more animal. I'm not sure that these space-time creatures actually change how they fight in any way. You almost certainly always win. Yeah, I've never seen anything not cost gems in the mystery shop. And that's about it. You get several different blessings, but for the most part you really want healing. Maybe speed up if you don't have an option. You'll be given 3 choices of blessings after each victory, and you just want to continuously get healings of the different styles if you can to make it further. And then by doing all of this, you get this currency, this currency, this currency, this currency, and this currency, which the space-time coins are unique to this one event activity, and will give you pieces to summon one of these characters. There's about 4 of those characters that you can summon, and so every month, if you get 120,000 of these space-time coins, you can unlock one of these characters. If you can get more of the space-time coins some other way, you could unlock more of them, and those make them very much the staple characters that you don't need to spend any premium crystal currency on to get, because they're not particularly great characters, with the exception of Cordy, and they're always going to be available. And the shop doesn't update as far as I can tell, so it is just going to be the staple characters, the first generation characters that are really unimportant. The game's balance doesn't really change that much. Once in a blue moon you'll have a new character that actually changes the balance a little bit, but for the most part it is what it is, so you don't have to be particularly difficult with it. So of the characters we have very little, so you would never do this after you've established yourself, but the move here in this case would be to take somebody that's really useful, which I'm going to take Potpourri anyways as a character by clicking this so the frame is on it, although Paldea probably makes more sense. And yeah, this game is also on the Japanese clock, so, or on a weirder clock, so when things reset you get logged out.
Your power. Come on, let's go.
And we can see we're more into the actual game now, so you have these daily rewards for logging in, and then if you log in 25 days you'll get these chests for even more rewards, which, yeah, let's keep focus and go back to the space-time cave. So I'll take Paldea, and then I'm going to go assist again. I'm going to take AA, and that means I'm skipped 2 fights and 2 rewards to then be able to fight a little bit better. So by taking these assist characters now, I have 3 things that are fairly powerful. And let's see. We'll sort by battle power, which will tell me that the last thing we'll get is this. I could do this, because doing this doesn't really change anything. Having 2 blues won't give me an extra bonus. I would need 3. So 150,992 plus 0%, because of no bonus changing it. You can see how the numbers get very big very fast. Using this, it's 157,000. The enemy we're about to fight is 42,000.
You have to handle flowers with care.
But again, we're not to the point where we can skip. So you're going to have to sit and watch this through the first time. Which, if you're brand new to the game, that makes a lot of sense. So, in this case, you could have something that increases the Ember Soul Gen, the greens, or you can have something that affects everything in that it deals 5 direct attacks equal to 10% of the target's current HP to enemies at random. Or you could go with this that says on level 3 hard mode at the start of the battle, increase the attack of a defense by 20%. We're not going to go with hard mode this time. So we'll take the higher rarity Judgment Rain and obtain that as our first blessing. And then I'm going to go over here in the center, which you generally want to stay in the center, and work towards getting another assistive character. The goal here is to win, no matter how.
As a memento of this battle.
Nasturtium, I assume, is her book there. It's not something they talk about. So again, we're not going to do hard mode this time. I don't even think it's going to be available to us. So we could either, at the start of battle, increase all allies' critical damage boost by 5%, or at the start of battle, strengthen all allies' basic attacks. When the ally deals basic attacks, they have a 80% chance to inflict burn for 3 turns. A lot of this gets into RPG elements, but in reality, you don't have to pay too much attention to it. You very quickly will become overpowered and just win no matter what. In this case, though, we do have slight issues. So I'm going to grab Florence now, and then before going any further, I'm going to throw her in there, and that brings us up to 179,000 attack. If we can get another blue at some point, we might want to take one of these darkness characters out. But not yet. So we're really playing as a strategy here. We've gone so long today that really I should have just made this a series. And instead we're making this an ironic quick look in that it's not quick. So you can increase the allies with the low speed chance to deal critical hit. You could start the battle, increase the warrior type allies attack by 10%, or you can go for health, which is the right move. At the start of battle, restore HP by 8% of the target's max HP to all allies. So every time you start a new battle, you get a health boost, which you don't get. Now, here we could either get another assistive character, or we could enhance blessing, which would make it stronger. Which we've seen assistive character, so let's enhance a blessing. That will change the HP equal from 8% to 12%. And you get a selectable thing here. That being said, you could also have gotten one blessing here. Then we'll get back in the middle.
So, lend me your strength.
And this may seem like this is fairly easy at the moment, but there is
to keep moving forward.
a real danger. I'm not sure what this reset button would do. But yeah, there definitely is a real danger that later on we'll run low on characters. And see, reviving at this point doesn't make sense because we don't really need to heal anything, and we want to get as many rewards as possible. When you are given the option to eventually skip, which is probably going to be months into the game, you are given the max amount of rewards that you could have gotten for that floor. This is 6th turn. We're not making it to a 6th turn. This would be sorceress type, 10%, or warrior type. Let's go with warrior type. And so here's our first boss battle, which is not really that different. It is still just a group of 5 random enemy characters, which I do like how this game has you fighting I like that you're fighting your own characters very often instead of fighting generic robots or zombies, something that visually is not as interesting. Here they can double up on the visuals. Double A here is a synthetic robotic being. So that's why she looks slightly different. So again, we could focus on health, which probably is the right move, so we'll do that. And there we just got 30 of these silver summoning pieces, which we'll use that later.
So, lend me your
Now what you will often see is that the marketplace will be directly in the middle of a bigger reward. In this case, we'll take the higher rated blue one since we're playing with blue characters. But yeah, this time the mystery shop is not an issue, and we're not really dying, so I don't think I need to get more assistive characters. We'll try and get more of a reward. I didn't realize how easy this was going to be. Yeah, we could increase our damage only if we went to hard mode, which we're not going to, so instead we'll increase our speed. Faster we move, less likely we're going to get hit. And there we have our first loss. So we've lost one of the black darkness characters, which gives me an opportunity to throw in a blue and now have this and this as bonuses. But yeah, these characters get worn down even with the health, and as such, even being really overpowered does not help. Plus, a lot of these characters just have attacks that can be devastating regardless. You can see how the health is getting lower and lower. Chance to hit by 20%. Soul advantages over target souls. Let's go with that one.
I will not let anyone get hurt ever again. I will not go easy on you.
About to lose a character. Now this one would increase defense without having to play on hard mode. So we'll take that. And then we will take another Amalith character. Or we'll take this one since it's different. Although we probably should take an iris, come to think of it. But yeah, these characters don't gain experience and they're not leveling up, which is very weird. You would expect that with each battle they're gaining a little bit of experience. But no, that's not how it works in this game. They will stay exactly the same until you give them more equipment or more experience, upgrade water. I don't think we have any sniper types. So we'll go with bestial smoke signals.
I will not let anyone get hurt ever again.
It's easy to get tricked to think that you're doing well in these, to only realize that when you get to the end, the boss fight is it's too difficult. Very often it's the case where I'll go through these on hard mode and run out of characters near the end. Just go through every single character, trying any groups I can to do any damage, and not doing any damage at all. At which point you have to use a healing apple, which honestly is not really a problem because, let's see, I don't have any right now, but very quickly you're going to end up with like 100 extra of these and just nothing you can do with them. So you can see this one has a little bit of damage, but this one's nearly dead, this one's nearly dead, this one's nearly dead, that one is dead, and that one's nearly dead. So you heal up to 50%, and yeah, you can see now that they have a much better chance of success. Yeah, Cordy in particular, if you let her get to the third turn or so, will do a group attack that will kill most people.
Have I made yet another mistake?
And then they'll say these negative lines whenever you lose, and it's really heartbreaking at a certain point. Now, you're almost never going to come to these battle replays because they don't tell you anything that's that useful. It's just easier to move ahead and try again. Speaking of trying again, though, here's where we're in trouble. I have this character, this character, this character, this character, and you can't have duplicates of the same character, and this character. That brings me to 108,000 BP with bonuses, versus 100,000.
I suppose this is also part of my job.
They don't recover health either, so I may get lucky here, but later on there might be one character that just heals itself throughout the battle and or defeats people. Yeah. Increase that defense. So we're now at level 3, which I could revive a character, or I can, yeah, but one random character would be revived, which includes this, which would be a real mistake, or I can take an assistant character, which in this case, let's take Potpourri. But I'm not going to make it here. I can already tell that that's going to be the case.
Let's get started. Watch it be amazed at this trick shot.
Unless Potpourri does something new, because I haven't seen her before, since she's brand new.
Watch closely, everyone.
We're going to lose, and then all you can do is bring about the next group of people.
You have to handle
And
flowers.
these guys are going to have no attack at all, so they're just going to die on the first hit before they can even attack, more than likely.
Together with the flap.
And then that's going to mean your last character is going to fight alone. And then it's going to immediately die. And so then there's just nothing you can do here. That is as far as you go. You have no characters. You have no heal. You can see all the blessings you got. Can you scroll up and see where you're going? No, because it gets a little secretive, but you can see that there was several more tiers of battles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It seems like. So that's not like everything is ruined there, but we do have to kind of change tactics. So here's your daily rewards that push you towards purchasing things, like a new character like here. When you get 1 copy of her, you'll get this free auto buff that increases the auto battles attack by 15%. That doesn't really change too much. And then it's pushing you to purchase more paid tiers. And some of these paid tiers you probably aren't even capable of purchasing unless you got lots and lots of copies of this. So you'd probably have to spend hundreds of dollars to get to this limited rarity version of Potpourri, at which point spending $40 extra is not anything. Then you have the same rewards here for this character, but notably, one thing that they don't really tell you is that when a character returns, like this character, if you already own a super rare, or a super rare plus with the floret, or a super rare, you already get these rewards a second time. So you really do want newest characters in as many copies as possible. Then weirdly, I wouldn't even say any of this is worth even paying attention to. It's just a bunch of ridiculousness. Increasing your VIP level might be worth something, but probably not. I don't even scroll down past that point. I don't even look at this tab, as clearly this is a game where you could pay a lot of money. Seems like you're pretty much capable of spending hundreds of dollars. Specific things for events. But really what you're going to do is just come down to this, and as a free-to-play player you're going to be at VIP 0, but you can click this and you can get a little bit of a reward every day. But buying this is not worth the gems, and increasing your VIP level might over the long haul improve your experience. But to increase your VIP level, you have to actually spend real world money, so there definitely is some stuff that's locked behind it. If you were going to go away from being free to play, I'd say definitely start with something like a 99 cents pack of 80 diamonds, diamond pack 80, which is on the first time going to give you an extra 80 diamonds, which is not a lot. Then this is your login bonus, which you already saw. And then when you first start, you have this special smart dash missions that you will never see again. But as you accomplish more things, this is a way in which they can just give you a list of things that you're supposed to do. But then they also are trying to get you to buy this, which this is not worth doing. Definitely not worth spending $300 to get this medal to unlock this chest. And then these 2 resources are very much not worth it. But since the time changed, I've logged in for 2 days, so I've gotten another one of those characters and not done anything else. Then you can look one ahead to see where we are. And here we can see the daily quest. As far as what we've done, just one thing. A lot of this is still locked. Here you can see the weekly quest. And then here we can see the main. And early in the game, you're going to get a lot of rewards for the mains. But eventually, you're not going to get any main rewards at all. And tons of notices here that you'll eventually mark all of those off as being read. Maintenance notices versus event notices. And then here we have a start dash present.
Will you protect me? I'm still scared to fight, but if I can help you, I'll do my best.
So this is the first witch of Queeloff. You can see there's kind of an X in her garter there, or whatever that's called. But there's no X in her eye. And again, the music is playing. Plus 20 there. And yeah, world rankings are rewards for players in this world reaching certain levels. So everybody gets those rewards when that unlocks. And then you have a whole shop here, which a lot of this we can't even access yet. But yeah, you start with the regular things. None of this is worth really buying. This is part of the special event that's going on, which usually you're going to end up using this special limited time currency to get you pool tickets that aren't even being shown because those special pools haven't unlocked. These specials are almost never worth it because they cost gems. The fragments here at the moment are not worth it because they're only going to give you level 20 equipment, whereas eventually this will max out at level 180. The holy fragments cost a secondary currency, and you do need to buy them here because you can't get them anywhere else. The character coins give you these staple characters, so like there's no way you're never going to be able to get these characters. These will always be available, at least one copy of them. But mostly you want this upgrade panacea and nothing else. Witch shards, not worth getting. You're not actually going to have Scarlet Jewels unless you do the League ones, I believe. Or maybe you only get those if you purchase them. That took me out of one shop and put me into another. Lots of shops. Cave of Spacetime, again, if you have 120,000, will give you these staple characters that are of at least a decent amount of rarity. Your number one focus, though, I think, should be either Amaleth or Cordy. Probably Amaleth is a little bit better. Probably don't want to spend currency on the Witch's Shards or any of these low-level characters, even if it seems fairly cheap. And then, like, a lot of this is also still locked behind a lot of stuff.
Looks like any unneeded gear can be smelted from here.
So,
If you decide to smelt, you'll obtain fragments. You can exchange fragments for new gear at the shop.
you can see how the game has kind of stopped holding your hand and is now letting you just kind of
will be updated every day, so you should
figure it
probably
out
check in
yourself, which is better, certainly. So yeah, we can just go here and smelt everything. Well, you're going to get a warning here first if you don't equip gear on the characters. Notice how this character's level went up higher. But also notice how this character is Iris at level 2, and this character is Iris at level 1 super rare. So you got a higher version of this character, and you're going to just end up putting this character away. So this is already an example of why you don't want to level things up, is that this character is just going to be fed into this character. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not sure it's really necessary to actually lock characters at all in this game, but it does give you an extra level of safety that you're not going to end up getting rid of the characters for some reason. So yeah, we'll go ahead and just equip those so that the red dots go away. So then we can smelt all without getting the warning, which then gives us a little bit of that currency, which is not really what you should focus on in the item box. What you want to focus on is this, witch's shards to give you one new character, or the mystery rune to give you one rune, or you might even use these, which give you a number of hours of return. So the further you get along in the quest line, the higher your return is going to be for gold, experience, and kindling orb. These resources, you're just going to end up with a huge amount of these and never really pay much attention to them. The boss tickets are something you can use to replay levels and get more rewards, and you want to kind of hold on to these as late in the game as possible too, if you can. And then these runes will synthesize in that you add two together to make a level 1, and eventually you'll get item parts that make custom weapons that aren't really custom, but they are better quality weapons. So the question is, how far can we really go? This is where you set your favorite characters, so let's see if we go ahead and just throw in several characters. Now notice that they have this little symbol here. That means they have a special music video type mode, whereas some characters don't. Only the oldest characters really have the music video type mode. And with that, to actually have the music video type mode, you're back to downloading things, which on Steam you would think it would have all downloaded automatically. But yeah, there's a, if you click this, you have to turn the streamer mode off to see it. In that case, let's see if that's the true.
Hello, my lord.
It's not true for this one.
Mom, Dad, and a bunch of pretty flowers.
It's a mix
It may
of
not
their
have been
story
much, but that's all
and
I
their
need to
song.
be happy.
So I'm going to only show a little bit of this. So the song itself. Yeah, and I don't know what's the deal with the network environment today. I don't run into this problem very often on my phone. So there might be some network issues on the Steam version too.
Hello, my lord.
Let's see. Here we can show off the character index, which just gives you a nice idea of just how many characters there are. It's not really that many. You have one row of 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72, 76, 80, plus another 3, 83 plus 4 is 87, plus another 4 is 91, 95, and then 99. So, one shy of 100 characters. The next new character that is released is going to be number 100, so they'll probably have a big celebration around it. But like I said, there's only 4 normal characters, and you just are never going to use those. Then you have super rare pluses that is only 12, and then you're not really going to try and get those or use those, and then the rest of them are all limited rare. So they really messed up their rarity system, I think, pretty badly, in that all the important characters are limited rares, and there's too many of them, and in reality only a couple of these are actually playable. So you get these limited rares because you're a collector. You don't really get the limited rares because you are trying to actually have them be playable in your team. If you don't have a character, you can't hear their music, but you can see the characters and get their backstory regardless. And yeah, can't see their memories, you can't see any of that. You can see the very Japanese blood types and birthdays and heights and weights, but they're not telling you, like, there are 3 sizes as far as breast, hip, and waist sizes, so it's not really getting too detailed. And that's your character index, which the red dot here is because of each of the characters having some story that I could go through. Then you're almost never going to go into the gear index, but there is some level of explanation that needs to happen here, in that you're going to have a rare level of weapons that has nothing to do with the rarity of the characters you put them on. It's just using the same terminology again. So you'll get weapon parts, and you'll make something part of the Nama set that would be level 180. Then you can level up to the Lilith set that would be level 200, and then the level 220, and then level 240, and then that is pretty much it. But if you want any set bonuses, you have to have all the weapons that are equipped, all 5 or 6 of them, be the same level. So you have to actually level up 5 or 6 of the weapons altogether for your best results, which smacks in the face in part of the unique items, which have to be considered separately. You might also get a few pieces to get the gold set that are super rares and a little bit better. You might even get lucky to get some purple items for your top 5 characters. But without paying to win, you're probably not going to get a lot of them. And once you get to the ultra rares, there's literally only one set, which is the Michael set. So that's minimum you're going to reach. And then there's only one set for the Metatron set, the limited rare. And then these are the unique weapons for each character. As far as, like, here's Merlin's Staff of the Sylvan Harvest at level 240, which it'll be a long time before you can actually get that. And they start simple, like here's Merlin's Staff at super rare, level 180. Here's Merlin's Staff at 200. Here's Merlin's Staff at 220. Here it is at 240, just adding more and more layers to the picture and different frames, adding more stuff overall till you get to this point. But you don't get a really great picture there, it's just a small little icon. So yeah, you're almost never going to come into the gear index. Here's the country index, where you could learn about the Duchy of Fran, but you're almost never going to come into that. So there's a lot of accessory stuff, certainly. And then there's some panels and openings that if you've been playing the game long enough, you would have unlocked them, but a lot of these are also events, so I'm not sure if there's any way to purchase them. Oh, I guess you need to use a panel ticket now to unlock content since you're late to the party. Yeah, and there are apparently no event panels right now. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 available, and there's 8 tickets, so they give you enough tickets to start with. And here's your music player that doesn't unlock until 4.8. And here's where you're doing the count link, and this is where you would do a batch download to download new stuff. I don't know if I've ever actually seen any codes to give you any rewards. There might be some out there, but not many. The settings here are exactly the same settings as on the front page. You can customize your character by changing the name. You can also swap out who your protagonist character would be. Set a birth date. Guild. Player level up. Comment. No chat in the game. No voice chat or text chat. Well, nope, there is a chat in the game, come to think of it. Here's a world chat example. And here's a group chat. And if you're in a guild, you'd have that. And there's a private chat. I wouldn't use the chat in any game. Can't do guilds. So you've kind of hit a level here, though, 2.5 hours into this quick look, where you're kind of stuck. We haven't moved far enough ahead to do what we need to do. So all we can hope is that leveling up this character is the right move. And then leveling up this character is going to be the right move. Now, there is a point that needs to be mentioned, that you can reset a character back down to level 0. But if I did that, it would cost 50 gems, and it wouldn't give me enough rewards to really justify doing that. So it is much better to just let a couple of these characters get to level 100, even if they aren't going to be your final top 5 characters. And as far as equipment, you're going to fairly quickly realize that it doesn't really benefit you much to not just throw equipment onto people just to get rid of the red dots. You can see now the characters are cycling between different songs. And we have now done a couple more things. Only 2 more things can be done. That is quick battling and reaping the boss battle. Then we are going to hit a point here where we are out of things to do. So can we win now? That's the big question. The thought here is probably still to play with this, to take out this one and put in this one, and do that. And that should give me a 4 plus defense 25, only really putting me at that level, still below what this guy wants.
I suppose this is also part of my job.
This be enough? You're done for.
Again, though, you can be very underleveled and still win. You want to get as far as possible. This bigger dot is where it's going to probably be a struggle.
This is also part of my job.
This be enough? I can't afford to lose. You're done for.
This does put me in a interesting conundrum, certainly, as a content creator, in that this game really is a case where you need to go through the whole tutorial, and if I were to just skip the tutorial and show you my account as it is, I wouldn't be explaining anything and really wouldn't be doing anybody a service there. But then it also makes for a very long onboarding process, which this game definitely has that, and it's showing a lot of content that you eventually just have your eyes glaze over as you don't really need to know it or engage with it. Particularly getting the skip, though, in this game is what needs to happen more than anything. They could have given you the skip after the very first battle. Would have been fine. 212 is when this unlocks. So you're not too far away from it. In fact, the first 3 chapters you really can do pretty quickly. And when I made a second server account, which was stupid, and did it out of just pure boredom, I was able to catch up my second account fairly quickly, just because of the skip up functions being added and unlocked. But I definitely wouldn't recommend having more than one account. I wouldn't recommend making one on an older server. Should just make it on the newest server. I can't really recommend anybody spend any money on any game, although this is one game that does give you, I think, more bang for your buck, and that you kind of know what you're getting, and it's not necessary. It gives you a lot of good free material. The game I played before this, Destiny Child, had about 2 or 3 times as many new characters added each month, and so it became very much impossible to get all the characters, even one copy of them. Of course, Destiny Child also was more into the adults-only TVMA content, so it had even smaller of a marketplace. And Shift Up made another game called, I think, Nike Goddess of Victory is the name of it. So we finally unlocked the skip. Nike Goddess of Victory, though, at least in its initial launch when I tried it, was very boring to me. It's just a lot, way too much sci-fi and gunplay. So we've got the skip. So now I'm going to start playing really fast. Just going to, particularly on a mouse, be able to click next if you can put the mouse cursor in the same place. Of course, the tutorial here is now taking me to the Tower of Infinity.
This is one tall tower. I wonder how high up it goes.
It goes up forever, and the numbers just get bigger.
This tower contains a large room. This entire place feels familiar to me.
So we're back on the tutorial.
Maybe this world is what our world will look like. Let's go. If we make our way to the top, we might be able to find something.
You never make it to the top, it just keeps going. But you get a lot of rewards here. This is the first tower that lets you use any group of characters. Which, yeah. $129 if we do that. $124 if we do that. So this is probably better. You'd probably be better off having more variety in the characters you fight anyways. So this one is matching with this one. No, this one is matching with these 3 to give a 3 bonus. And then this is giving us the chaos bonus.
So,
It's the same battles though, so we can just go ahead and skip.
You have to handle
And you
flowers
have
with care.
infinite challenges.
I'm still a bit scared to.
The buttons unfortunately are
Victory is
not
ours.
exactly in the same place,
Still a
so you
bit
do have to
scared
kind of move
touch-
up and down.
I
Or
suppose
on a
this is
touch
also
screen,
part of my job.
you can have a fat enough finger that might hit them
I
both.
suppose this is also part of my job.
And I'm just gonna
Suppose this is
burn
also
through
part of
this.
my job.
And on the first tower,
You have to handle flowers
you
with care.
don't have any limitation
I
on how
suppose
high
this
you
is
can
also
go.
part of my job.
On the other towers, you can only go up 10 levels
will not let
per
anyone get
day,
hurt.
I suppose
which eventually you will just run into
I
a
suppose this is
natural
also part of my
blocking
job.
place where you can't go any further. Now notice that one of those challenges I failed twice and just clicking next.
So, lend me.
Yep.
I'm still a.
So for an idle game though,
I suppose
this is where it stops being a real idle game, is that you actually do have a
So,
lot of clicking that you actually have to do as far as just managing it. And notice how the last character, it took 4 or 5 victories
sorry.
before you won. Here, it may take even more, or I may have hit just a natural place where I can't get any further.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, there is a real valid reason to sit here and just skip 20, 30 times.
To handle
Of course, this may also be seizure inducing, so I should have warned people about that. Apologies. As far as just flickering lights.
I suppose
And this is very ADD and just hyper in your activity.
Still a bit. I'm still a.
So I would say I'm probably not getting anywhere there. Let's actually watch a battle just to see how far we're getting. The problem here is that in these battles you can have 2 of the same character, and 2 Cordies is going to be a nightmare as far as her doing group attacks to kill characters and then doing group attacks again. So you can see we're not getting anywhere close enough in our damage. So I could go back to level 13 and reap when that is unlocked. Or I could challenge. So either wait till you get to quest 8-4 to be able to reap, which is seems like that'd be very far away. Or you go back and challenge and do your 3 daily challenges for previous floors. You don't have to spend anything for current floors, but you can't just infinitely grind for free on previous floors to get equipment and items, which is what this whole thing is about. And getting those skills early on up to level 41 is a big game changer for these characters. Certainly. And I may very well be hitting a point where I'm gonna just have to pick some other characters to start leveling them up, instead of just trying to level this one and this one up to level 100. Yeah, you can see we got a few more consumables. One more character that can be summoned. And yeah, there's for one day very little more that can be done. We can go and quick battle for free, which jumps me up to level 16 and gives me a bunch of equipment. And then we can take this reward and this reward. And then we can claim all these rewards here. for your first day, 3 hours into the game. It would take a little bit more to go through all of this to unlock the rest of us. 520 is, I guess, your first daily goal if you're just going to play this game for 6 to 8 hours in the first day to unlock Temple of Illusions. If you miss it, you're not missing too much on the rewards. Speaking of rewards, having done everything we can really do here, these notices don't give you like rewards or anything, so just getting them all clicked off is not really necessary. Eventually these things will happen. So right, that's now cleared off. So you only have a few red dots left. So I have 1,890 gems, weird to be on 90, and I have 20 tickets. And I really just want to save all of that for the next episode, which I guess we're doing episodes here. At least 2. This quick look is getting too long. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and keep on watching. Thanks.